Hello, welcome back. It is week 112 on Out on That Line. I'm Jeff with my co-host Alex. As always, Alex, how you doing this week, buddy?
Jeff, I got 99 problems, but a Gec ain't one. We've got a hot album this week. I can't wait to get into it. But Jeff, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, a little shaken by the news that there is going to be a Firefest 2. And I, I don't know, go look up Firefest. Like quick Google search, you're going to find out everything you need to know in about 2 minutes about how this thing went. What was it? A couple of years ago when they did it? I'm not sure. I'd have to check when that is, but you brought it up. That was one of the first things you said to me was like, have you seen this Firefest thing? They're going to do it again. And I'm just flabbergasted that we're here once again.
Well, also, I feel like saying they're going to do it again. This is out of the mouth of a known liar who stranded a bunch of people and fed them cheese sandwiches. So if he says it's going to happen, I take that with a big fat grain of salt. But you got to wonder like what will go down at this one if it does happen.
That's that's something. I mean, obviously I'm going to imagine the worst things. Like at best I think it's going to be like it was before. Because how, like, what artist is going to ever do this? Like who would ever really want to put their money into this other than people going to see a train wreck that just have some money to burn? Because I don't know why else you would ever do this. Maybe some like ironic factor will make some artists like want to go do it just to say they did, that they performed at Firefest. I mean, there's all sorts of ways it could go wrong. I don't see a lot of ways it could go right, but I'm interested to hear what you think.
Here's the thing, you took the words right out of my mouth because it is 100% this time around going to be an ironic luxury experience. They are going to make you sleep in a shitty mattress. They are going to make you eat cheese sandwiches. They are going to take away cell service and your ability to communicate with the outside world. But this time, it's all going to be like an ironic riff on, like, remember what a disaster the first one was? Wish you could have experienced that? Well, why don't you pay twice what you would have paid to go to the first one to come here and experience all the bullshit everybody else already did? And if you are one of our exclusive second timers, you pay triple what you paid the first time. It's gonna be one, mark my fucking words, it is. It's gonna be, if it happens, an ironic luxury experience for dum-dums.
So I can absolutely see that happening. And what would be funny is if they, like, on the production side of it, all the workers and like however they set that all up, if it's just completely a failure, like they're not doing at all what they intended to do, but because people came in expecting a disaster, it's just going to be business as usual. Like everybody's going to be like, oh, haha, it's so funny. How authentic is this that they can't even get a meal out? But meanwhile, they're like panicking because they actually are trying to get a meal out. They're trying to get those cheese sandwiches and they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, what do you feed them then? Their own shit?
Well, I'd say if you're going to buy a ticket to Firefest, you've probably eaten plenty of that already.
But that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
Another time and another place.
Yeah, please, if you're out there and you're still going to buy a ticket to this thing and you go through with it and you have to tell us. Like a written letter would be best. Well, reach out. We'll give you an address. I can just give Alex, we can just give yours on the air
Yeah, it's
if you
fine. Go
want.
for it.
Okay.
Oh, sure. It's
So yeah,
555.
he's gonna put that he's gonna put that right down here. Um, so if you go to this thing, please, like, describe your experience in excruciating detail because I want to know exactly what happens. I want to know if it's as bad as we think it's going to be, or like this is still like in a universe of infinite possibility, Alex. The possibility exists that this is like the best festival ever. This is like Woodstock 69 for like our generation. There's a chance. Just saying there's a chance.
Prison changes a man. So maybe Billy McFarland went in there and was like, when I get out, I got one thing I know I got to do. I got to make it right. I got to do Fire Festival 2. And maybe this is the turning point. where he does. He's like, I'm gonna give people, I'm gonna out Woodstock, Woodstock. It's gonna be spectacle on spectacle, Firefest 2. And he actually does it. It's certainly possible, Jeff. Stranger things have happened. What do I think is going to happen, though? They're going to preemptively dig a mass grave, cover it with a tarp, and hope for the best.
That's,
That's my
I
story.
guess in the immortal words of I think Jack Black, yeah, one great rock show can change the world, man.
That's exactly correct, Jeff.
Well, that's I mean, yeah, again, if you go, please tell us all about it. I
Well,
won't
I'll do you one
guarantee.
better. If you've got the kind of money to go to, if you're the kind of dumb slob that's going to go to this because you got the money to do it, buy me a ticket. I don't want to lump Jeff in here. I'm just saying for me, buy me a ticket and I will go with you. It's like a contest, it's a sweepstakes. If you're already planning on going, you have the money for a plus one, bring me and I will report from the inside. It's better
That's
than
it.
letting
Like
some
we
dum
gotta
dum do it.
maybe we should start using social media a little bit more, and we can try to get that idea out there. That might be it'd be wonderful for content. I can't say much for
Perhaps.
your ability to not have hepatitis A, but
I'm going to do my damnedest.
Well, Alex, what do you say? Is it about time to get a little weird with 100 Gecs?
Don't just give me 100 Gecs, Jeff. How about 100,000 Gecs?
Well, I can give you 10,000.
I asked for 100,000, Jeff.
Okay, well, I'll give you 10 of
What's
these
the
albums because
exchange rate?
it's called 10,000 Gecs. So I'll give you 10 of these. Okay, 10. And they're short. They're only 26 minutes long, so it's not going to take you long to listen to all of them.
It
So
felt
it's
like
really a deal.
100,000 Gecs.
Well, with the amount of stuff that's packed into this album, it feels like a million Gecs, to be honest with you, because I had no idea from one moment to the other where the hell we were going with this album. It seemed like every single genre, every single influence, every single musical instrument itself was available for use on this album, and they used as many as they could. And I, honest to God, I don't know if I've ever had an experience like this with an album where clearly it's like they're not taking themselves seriously whatsoever, but you cannot help but take the creation seriously in itself.
It's just like extremely fun. So no, it doesn't take itself seriously. It's like totally off the wall. And I didn't even fucking bother to learn the name of the album because to me, every time I've been talking to people about it, I'm like, it's 100 Gecs. And I think that's the best way to describe 100 Gecs is that it is 100 Gecs. Like there is nothing else like it. So that is what it is. It's appropriate to refer to it in all adjective, verb, noun,
Mhm.
100 Gecs. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. It's just like such a singular, difficult to describe kind of thing, but goddamn, we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna give it a shot. It was a shorty, and every song left an impression.
Yeah, and as I go through the list, usually there's 3 or 4 songs that I kind of try to make sure that I hit on, whether it's the lyrics or the musicality or something. Especially if I like an album, I want to give like kind of specific points where it really brought me in. But as I go through the track list on this and I'm looking at it now, I mean, I see Dumbest Girl Alive, Hollywood Baby, Frog on the Floor, Doritos and Fritos, $1 million, The Most Wanted Person in the United States. I got my tooth, like it's bang, 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 bang. It is every single song, even the ones that I didn't mention. Like they go by in such a breeze that even if you don't really like them that much, you have to appreciate with it. There's so much chaos everywhere in the album, but if you just kind of let yourself go into it and just kind of like let yourself fall into that a little bit, it really is unbelievably cohesive. Like it all makes sense, even though when you listen to it, none of it seems to. I don't know how else to try to explain that.
It is really like endearing chaos. It is like so endearing and fun. And yeah, every song you listen to just like jumps off the page at you with all these little weird quirks and twists. Like I got my tooth removed Let's dive into that song specifically. We both talked about
Mhm.
that. I think I Got My Tooth Removed left quite an impression on both of us. It's,
Yes.
to me, an example of what they do so well, which is just like this little flip when you don't expect it. Like they're doing one thing and all of a sudden they stop and they immediately start something else. They just like take you to all these unexpected places. I Got My Tooth Removed was very much one of those.
Mhm. Yeah, and I really that was one that I'm gonna pull up the lyrics here because it's also like a lot of songs. Some of the songs are like literally just like one lyric repeated over and over, just about. But I Got My Tooth Removed is like a very, I don't know, it's almost like a linear story on an album where you don't really expect anything like that, and it's such the way they shape everything. Like Frog on the Floor is clearly not about a frog on the floor. I Got My Tooth Removed is like it's obviously about the emotions and everything going on behind that when that moment was happening, but it's such a simple way to describe, like, if you don't really want to tell somebody what's really going on with you, they'll ask like, "Oh, are you feeling okay?" Maybe you're a little sad, maybe you're depressed, maybe you got a lot to talk about, but all you say is, "I got my tooth removed."
Interesting, because I have, like, the exact opposite interpretation, which is it is literally about having your infected tooth removed and
Mhm.
frogs doing keg stands. I not to sell them short, like, they don't have emotional depth, but to me, it was just like, this is where the Frank Zappa of it all comes in, where they're doing very tongue-in-cheek, funny, conceptual stuff because the music that they're trying to make is the vehicle. So they're just like, we need to hang this music on some kind of frame. So when I hear this, I think about like there's a frog on the floor at a party or ripping your own tooth out of your head with a set of pliers. I think they mean like these songs are very, very literal to me
Mhm.
and like that much more endearing for them because they're not like it's very much appreciated at the tail end of Boy Genius and before that Caroline Rose. As beautiful as that music was, it was heartbreak music. You really
Mhm.
got to bring your A game to that. 100 Gecs is just like, how about a song about being a wanted fugitive or something about Cheetos and or Doritos and Fritos? We got one of
Mhm.
those for you.
Mhm.
It's just great.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the Frank Zappa of it all, because one thing that we were discussing him a little bit in outside of just this before the show, and kind of realizing that Frank Zappa just kind of hated everybody and everything. The guy was just so critical and cynical that he could not accept like pure joy in his life, it didn't seem. So this music, I feel like he would have loved 100 Gecs if not for himself, so he probably would have hated them. Even though it's like this is such a the songs that you had me listen to with Frank Zappa, obviously I listened to, Bobby Brown Goes Down, like that song, like that could have been a 100 Gex song, like Frank Zappa could have done any of these songs because there's so much chaos, but there's clearly like a lot of musical talent in this too. Like the way some of these songs take off from like a slow little ballad to we even got like hardcore metal on this. Like we got some like thrash on this album, and I certainly appreciated that. We got like Blink 182 pop punk. It sounded like there was like I heard Papa Roach in some of I mean, it's just like there were so many
Lib
things I was
Biscuit.
like, "Oh, this sounds like so familiar," but they clearly changed a little, but were able to I don't know if that was an intentional thing by them, but it happened so many times that I was like, there's got to be something that they realize that they're doing to make me hear those things like so clearly. It's like sounds like a Blink 182 song, or like this riff sounds like Last Resort by Papa Roach, but it changes just slightly enough that it's like, okay, maybe it's not that, but it's just for some reason it was such a mind fuck of an album because they were pulling from so many different things and clearly were like skewering everything and just like making you realize like how ridiculous all those different things are. Because why do you only have to do one of those things? Like, look at what they're doing. They're doing every kind of music you can think of and doing all of them very well. It's just like a very jarring experience to have like all of those things just like slammed together the way they did it.
Yeah, you have songs that like very clearly invoke Ween And obviously, we made the Zappa parallel where it's like musique concrete. The whole thing's made in the studio. So it's all made in the lab. So it's
Mhm.
essentially, for all intents and purposes, it's like found sounds that they smash together in interesting collages. And you get stuff as different as like Frog on the Floor is like a Wesley Willis song. It's got that
Mhm.
same like like that like canned keyboard song at the way front of the track, and then just this kind of goofy frog on the floor. Sounds like a fucking hoedown on a keyboard. Very funny. And then you have stuff like I Got My Tooth Removed, which is ska.
Mhm.
And then like the ink spots, because there's one of those like sad talking parts. It like you said, they pull so much weird, different shit out of the bag, and like 26 minutes. It's the perfect amount. Any more than that, and I think maybe I would have been tapped. 26 minutes was
Mhm.
perfect.
Yes, and I think, well, for this type of music, I think 26 minutes is enough for sure. I think if it's something like, the Boy Genius album, I thought could have been longer. I thought there was a little more meat on that bone. If they had more songs that they wanted to sing, if they told the whole story they wanted to tell, then that's fine. But that's the kind of music where if that's a longer album, like I can deal with that. That's something I can work with. Because this was like you had to actively listen to this because they made so many changes in the style of music. It's like every time it changed, it made you pay attention again. It made you like get drawn right back into what they were doing. And that's way more activity mentally than you're usually going to have on any given album because a lot of artists are going to stick in the same sort of genre. Like think of like a Tyler Childers album. It's all country. Might be like different versions, you might bring in different kind of instruments, but it's all country. So it's like you're expecting one thing and you're getting that one thing throughout the whole experience. Now this, you were getting something new twice a song, every single song. And while it was only 26 minutes, I feel like when you pack that much into it, it's a full 26 minutes. It's all there.
It does. It's like the perfect use of the space and just enough different stuff. Like you said, there's like some like new metal aspects to it, which is like you just move on. You just keep hopping around, which makes it impossible to pigeonhole. And I had that revelation because this is described as hyper pop. And I immediately thought about that and I'm like, "Oh, well, like hyper pop, what makes it pop?" And I'm like thinking about it in this like very linear way and I'm like, "Maybe the point is it's just whatever the fuck you want it to be." Because that
Mhm.
seems to be what 100 Gecs was doing with this album is just again, the Zappa principle where it's like, "This sounds interesting to me. Fuck it. Song about I got my tooth removed.
Mhm.
Da-da-da-da-da-da." I mean, like, that shit could be like Streetlight Manifesto. They just did whatever the hell they wanted. They're talented enough to pull it off. They did the exact right, perfect amount, and it was like a flawless victory.
Mhm. Yeah, that's and I can't really overstate like how much I think people should go listen to this album. If you're like if you've got your music that you like and you just listen to us to pass the time, you know, I'm not going to get offended if you don't listen to this one, but if you're like seriously, like to consume a lot of music and just get it from everywhere, go try this album out. Go check it out because you're going to find so many spots here. Like $1 million is the simplest song in the world, but the way they make it so
$1,000,000.
interesting. Yeah, and then they have, like, the Siri voice at $1,000,000. Like, it's just they change it up all the time, so you're like, "Ooh, what's gonna be next?" And every time, it just gets you interested, and I honestly haven't had we've had a lot of great albums so far this year, and I'm not saying this is my number 1 album of the year, but I haven't had any album, like, really kinda grab me the way that this one did. Now, I think just I don't know. Is it fair because it is what it is? It's hyper pop. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Does that also mean it can't be taken seriously for like awards and things like that?
I mean, I highly doubt because the exact problem is hyperpop is a category, but it's not a categorization. No award-giving body is gonna be able to categorize this shit, so they're just gonna ignore it. It's the first major or like label release, like, after being independent second album, first label release, but I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna get enough stroke to really get noticed, and if it did,
Mhm.
I think it'd be another, like, Lil Nas X thing where it's like, "We don't know what to do with you. Gay black cowboy? Yeah, my AI brain just broke." So, I they're definitely talented enough you'd love to see them get a look. It would be warranted, but I don't know. I think and selfishly, I almost hope it stays that way because it makes this more special thing. I think
Mhm.
people should check this out. If it's not your normal thing, if it's not what you usually listen to, good. It is important to diversify the music that you listen to because it's going to make you appreciate the shit you love more. It's going to make you very clear on the shit that you hate. You need to have different experiences. Too many
Mhm.
people I know in my life don't do two things. They don't stretch enough and they don't stretch their musical tastes enough. You're
Oh.
going to fuse your damn creative discs if you don't try something new, stretch yourself. This is a perfect album to do that with. It's a catfish.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you're right in that it's probably not going to win awards, but it just was a little lightning bolt that hit me because I was like, this is I mean, it's super good. Like it is award worthy, as far as the quality of it, their talent, they are definitely worthy of winning that, but it's like you said, like what award would you give them? Is this like
Right.
really definable as far as like what this music is? Because I don't think you can. I think you just have to call it like I think hyper pop, maybe if that's a word used for just as a catch-all for like something that's peppy and meant to be catchy, but you don't really know where to put it, like what box it fits in. Maybe you just have a tent for all the, for all the hyper pop stuff, and I think that's I don't know if there's probably a lot of bands like this. It's just not really a genre of music I considered a lot. I heard sometimes like I don't know if you ever listen to the artist Girl Talk, but they would basically
Mhm.
just take like tons of different popular like rap songs, soul songs, like pop songs, whatever, and just like mash them together. And it was always there's a few songs that are like just really, really good the way that he was able to put them together. And that I got that sense here where it didn't feel like they sat down and were like, hey, let's write an album. It feels like they sat down and were like, okay, what kind of instruments do we want to play? And then like figured out the noises that they want to make. And then they were like, okay, we can say these words here. We can say these words here. Doesn't really matter what that is because it's just, we just want to make something and get it out there.
The thing is their process was making stuff and sending it to each other back and forth from LA to Chicago. They described it as like exquisite corpse, where it's like a drawing that multiple people contribute to and it changes and shapes the meaning for it. That was their process and it shows. And I mean that in the best possible way
Hmm.
because it is fresh. It's not Bruce Springsteen gets the band back together and they're all in the studio together. That,
Hmm.
as Jack Black would say, that's a special thing and belongs to them. But this process made this kind of music and gave us 100 Gecs. That's the project. That's the genre. And ain't nobody got an awards category for that. 100 Gecs, baby. I'm going to go ahead and call this a strong buy it.
Yeah, I think if this one ever comes out on vinyl, it's absolutely buy it because they might even be able to fit the whole thing on one side.
Yeah. You can get your tooth removed in 26 minutes or less. I got my tooth removed. It's just fun. It's just
Yeah,
pure
it really is. There's
fun.
so many fun parts to it. There's so much like and honestly there's so many genres here. Like if you really like music in general, it's worth checking out. You'll find a song on here that you like or at least some parts that you like. And it's not going to take you any time at all. Go out, get it. If at the very least stream it. We're going to buy it. I can't wait to add that one actually. That's going to be probably my weirdest album that I own.
Yeah, it's gonna fit snugly in there with the Zappa
Yeah,
and the
actually I think
Warren
it's got to go
Zevon.
at the front of the line because it's 100 Gex, like it's a number. It's got
Uh,
to go front of the line.
yes. No, I meant more like content-wise, like
Yeah. Oh
composition-wise.
yeah.
It's going with the weird stuff, which is
Yeah.
how I used to organize my God, this is the most hipster douchebag shit. I used to organize my vinyl by genre, but now it's by alphabetical order. Last
Yeah.
name, obvi.
Yeah, and I'm such a snob that I will like say that a band is so many different genres that organizing them like that, I'd still be here doing it because there's just
Yeah.
no way I wouldn't be able to make that decision at all.
Quite frankly, actually, the state my record collection is in, it's back in Vermont and it's just a slop pile. I just threw everything onto a shelf, mixed in and amongst itself. We got Mitski in there with Chris Christopherson. We've got Tupac in with Willie Nelson. We don't know what the hell we're doing in there. I don't know what's going on. It's all back home. I don't know what's going on. It's like Toy Story. Do they get up and party? I don't know. I'm not there. There's a lot of mingling happening. How
I'd
did we
like to
get
think
here,
that
Jeff?
they
Why am I talking about this?
I'd like to think that they get up and party when you're gone. I mean, otherwise mine are just collecting dust because I never use my record player these days.
Again, it's a ritual, it's a process. You got to
Yeah.
be dedicated to that as your activity. You're not,
Hmm.
vacuuming while you do it. You're not using a Swiffer wet jet while you do it.
No, no, never. Well, I think some folks, we got to do a little housekeeping here. So we're going to tell you again, go down, like, subscribe. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us if there's an album you want to hear. We loved this one, but this one was our pick. I saw this one pop up online. So this was our pick. So y'all need to get on it. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know if there is a song you want us to do as a reaction, maybe a single for a topic that you want us to expound on a little more that maybe we don't want to put into a full show. You let us know. And Alex, where can they do those sorts of things?
I did a lot of bits tonight, so I'm going to keep this brief. You know what it is. You all know what it is. It's like you are hearing me, but you don't listen. So I'll say it one more time. youtube.com/C/ out on that line. It's got all of our premium content, but you know this. You're just not doing anything about it. So be a part of the solution instead of the problem at youtube.com/C/ out on that line.
Whew, that just gave me goosebumps. Well, until next time.